gentlemen, welcome back to HMP. It's the end of an era or a start to a whole new world. We'll find out today as we're reviewing Blue Beetle. I am your host, Adam Portress, and joining me today, he's been called the White George Lopez, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and I haven't had this much fun in a movie theater since that time I found a quarter.
Oh, man, you better not listen. As somebody who worked in a movie theater for a couple of years, let me tell you something. Don't pick up anything off the ground and keep it for yourself. It's not good.
Definitely don't put it in your mouth.
Don't put it in your mouth, that's for darn sure. Ooh, I was going to tell stories out of school, but that's no good for anybody. That's not going to...
Please do
it's
not
not going to benefit anyone and probably alienate half the audience if we're quite frank with ourselves. But...
Yikes. Yes, move.
You'll go, no, we can't do that. That's just going to make people... Well, the movie theaters are already in enough trouble as it is. I don't think that we need more to fuel that fire.
Move it.
So welcome back, everybody. We made our way out to the theaters this week because we saw Blue Beetle, the latest from Warner Brothers and DC. Some said it was the end of the DC kind of Snyderverse era, but at the same time, too, James Gunn and old what's-his-nose there. What's the other guy's name?
Christopher Columbus.
Christopher Columbus Jr.
Of 1492 Pictures.
Seraphin. That's it. Peter Seraphin. Holy moly.
Yeah,
I pulled that one out of my tail, didn't I? But because his name is on this and everything, I think he's a producer of this. So this is kind of like a soft launch, maybe, for James Gunn stuff. But we'll talk about where all that falls and if we think this thing should go anywhere. Before we get to Blue Beetle, we want to say a thank you to everybody that supports this show over at patreon.com/HMP. Those awesome people get pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone. And, of course, you get to vote on what we watch every month. And this time, we're doing things a little bit differently. Next month, we have all of these movies up for votes. The standing isn't quite hasn't changed too awful much. We got maybe a couple more votes from last time here, but as it stands right now, here are the standings. Coming in at fourth place, we have the Charles Band of Bummers. Everybody's bummed out and don't want to see no Charles Band. It appears.
Oh man, I had high hopes for Trancers.
You never know. Listen, I still have that subscription, so by George, they gonna get some Charles Band whether they like it or not. They can not vote for it, but at some point they're gonna get whooped upside the head with it whether they like it or not.
Two shades of oopsie.
Yeah, well, that's also one of those things too that once this gets off of, it's like a lot of the other Patreon votes. The winner goes away, but the losers can remain. And we have
right.
We have these all-stars, perennial all-stars, like your two guns, if you will. Like two guns must have been on Patreon votes 115 times.
So many. It was very clear that no one wanted to see
No one ever wanted to do that. They're like, no, you keep Marky Mark off of my screen. I don't want to see none of it. None of it.
I think the what was that one? The Substitutes or whatever that had Bruce Willis in it that was on there forever. That was written by Robert Venditti.
Yeah.
Surrogates.
We eventually got to that, but I don't think anybody voted for that. I think
nobody voted for it. We just retired.
We were just like, listen, we got to put a bullet in this one because if we don't, no one's going to actually vote for it. So, but then we have Killer Kaiju coming in at third place here at your 20%. Coming in at 27, it's jumped up a little bit. This is where I wanted to say something because these last-minute votes will absolutely count this last week here, and I would say about probably half of our supporters over at patreon.com/HMP have actually voted on this. So our Once Bitten, that's our werewolf segment, has jumped up to 27%. So you're now in number 2 place here. But I gotta admit to you, Werewolves, it's going to be one heck of an uphill climb for you because Sean Loves Spaceships is clocking in still at a cool 47%.
Oh, our listeners are morons. They're all morons.
all the kids in Springfield. So we want you guys to vote on that. Tell us what you like, what you don't, and everything. And that's what we're going to do for the next month. You don't know what those movies are going to be. Frankly, I don't even know that we each in our own individual categories specifically know all the movies that we'll be doing within said category, but we'll figure all that kind of good stuff out. But if you want to do that, support us over at patreon.com/HMP. Pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone, and you get to vote. My goodness, the power that you have in your hands, everybody. It's unbelievable. And if you can't do that, for the heaven's sake, just jump over there to the iTunes there and give us a 5-star review, aka a humdinger.
Humdinger.
I think I thought I had a review here. Let me check my notes. I should have pulled this up before the show, but I didn't because I'm forgetful. I don't think we did. If I do, we'll do it next week. Who cares? Let's get into it.
What was a big Booty Wheelbarrow or something from last week. We'll just read that one every week.
We'll just read that one just because we like saying booty on the show every week for no particular reason other than that. Well, here's the IMDb plot line, everybody, for Blue Beetle. And as we know, IMDb always 100% correct in everything they say and or do. Oh boy, here we go. Let's start again. An alien scarab chooses college graduate Jaime Reyes to be its symbiotic host, bestowing the teenager with a suit of armor that's capable of extraordinary and unpredictable powers, forever changing his destiny as he becomes the superhero known as Blue Beetle. Hey, for what IMDb has been giving us for the past couple of months, that's pretty good.
Pretty well written.
So you know that Warner Brothers didn't do it. This is written by Gareth Dunnett-Alacour. He did Miss Bala, which was a Catherine Hardwicke movie from a couple years back. Pretty forgettable, but I do remember liking it. This is directed by Angel Manuela Soto. I'm trying to do my best.
On Hell, yeah.
Yeah, but he did Angel Manuel Soto. He did Charm City Kings from 2020, which I have not seen, but I watched a trailer for.
People like that, right?
It looks cool. It's about black dirt bike riders in Baltimore and with all the things that go along with Baltimore. And it looked good. That trailer looked pretty good. So I'm actually going to probably seek that one out and everything. But yeah, so this is the end of the kind of end of the James or the Zack Snyder beginning of the James Gunniverse. What do you think? Where do you think this falls in all of that?
I think this is just going to go down as like something that was in between the wheels that were spinning. I think it's just going to be kind of lost along with like Shazam 2. I think it's going to kind of be not thought of as part of either universe.
Yeah, just kind of that forgotten.
I think that everything Warner Brothers has given us has kind of been, and it doesn't have to be a bad thing, but they've all been kind of bastard children. Because the Robert Pattinson Batman does its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
The
Joker does its own
Joker did its own thing to the tune of $1 billion. So, they're just kind of throwing stuff out that's not really part of anything. And that way, if something really catches fire, that's what they can build around, I guess, if they want to. And, James Gunn, even though I absolutely love the guy, and a lot of people said, it was a big step up with Suicide Squad, it still didn't
it didn't set the world on fire
and stuff. And I mean, it was still kind of a little bit of pandemic box office when that came. Not even a little bit, a lot of pandemic box office when it came out. But people seem to really respond to Peacemaker.
But also, people got screwed on that other Suicide Squad movie so hard that you didn't really want to you just felt you were once bitten twice shy.
But I felt burned a lot worse by other things than I did by that first Suicide Squad.
No, we're normal people, but not other people.
I didn't love it, but it wasn't all that bad. I didn't demand my money back or anything.
It could have been.
I mean, I was disappointed, but it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, exactly. And we ended up liking Peacemaker better after that show, where they actually felt like they developed the character, because he didn't really feel super developed within the movie itself. Which I don't know. Anyways.
So anyway, I think this is going to be in sort of a no man's land, so that in the future they can decide whether or not they want to use it. It's a player to be named later.
Were you? What's your kind of relationship? Because I've known a couple of people. I got a buddy of mine who he used to be a podcaster and everything. He has been the largest Blue Beetle fan forever and a day. You're kind of your Ted Cord, and we'll get into all that. But what's been your experience with Blue Beetle? Because it's never a comic that I really read or had any outside experience with.
I mean, Ted Cord is kind of everybody's go-to Blue Beetle because he's the sort of comedic one. So of course he's going to appeal to me. But I didn't read a ton of Blue Beetle on his own, but Booster Gold and Blue Beetle, the Blue and Gold stuff, and Justice League International, Blue Beetle was part of that. But I was a little bit more of a Booster Gold reader that caught Blue Beetle when he came in from the side, with Booster Gold. But with the new 52, I did decide I wanted to check out the newest incarnation of Blue Beetle, the one that we have in this movie. And I stuck with it for, 5 or 6 months, sounds like I'm throwing shade, but no, it's not uncommon for comic book readers to drop a title after 5 or 6 months.
Yeah, you dip a toe, you see if you like it or
it
whatever.
It gets expensive. Yeah, I'm not trying to say, it sucked. If it sucked, I would have never picked up a second issue. but it was a very, very different Blue Beetle, and the New 52 is a very, very different kind of world. And I was probably just a little bit too old to get pulled in to that incarnation of Blue Beetle at that point in time. I don't know, because
books were running $4 a pop at that point, or at least at that range.
Yeah, but I was curious about it, and I got to know the character a little bit. And I'm in the camp of I like Ted Kord best because that's where most people are. But all the Charlton characters, I like them because of the relationship to Watchmen. And of course, Ted Kord is Dan Dryberg, and Dan Garrett is Hollis Mason.
What?
The first two Night Owls. So
there's so much in this that's taken in a fun way, I think. But if that wasn't enough, let me sell everybody on this latest DC movie, because this sucker's got everything. We got a cast of. George Lopez is the biggest name on the marquee, so I don't. That might not be good.
I normally don't interrupt your list, but before you get started, I just got to say, I can't wait to talk about my headcanon fan fiction for Uncle Rudy. We'll get to it.
But even though George Lopez is there, you know what is good? Susan Sarandon. She's in this thing. She showed up to work too. It's kind of shocking.
It's like, when you want that Sigourney Weaver vibe, but you don't have that Sigourney Weaver money, but you still got a lot of money.
Susan Sarandon is where you go. Exactly. We got PG body horror, blue appendages. We celebrate real cultures in fake cities. Crazy colors, tons of Latin pop songs, Latin pop cover songs. We got regular pop songs, which includes Motley Crue's Kickstart My Heart, which is in so many things that I now believe you can license that song for at least $7. I'm fairly certain. We got a track suit that I assume Sean wears on the weekly. Janitorial work, face hugging, bus splitting, body horror. I saw a couple of shots of Atlanta for sure. Futuristic helicopters, voices in your head, Nana with a Gatling gun. And let's be honest, isn't this just Mexican RoboCop meets DC? This movie's got everything.
Wow, succinct.
This movie,
succinct there.
I may have this in my head because just recently, Arrow Video is having a sale at Barnes and Noble of 50% off all of their Blu-rays and 4Ks and stuff. So I picked up the 4K of RoboCop. So I just recently watched RoboCop like 3 nights ago, and then I go and watch this movie, and I'm like, this is just RoboCop.
And I'm not so much talking about this movie. The bad guy here is certainly RoboCop-esque. Which, anyway,
he's Ed 209, really, when you think about it.
Well, I think he's a little more RoboCop, but here's something though that we've got here with the Blue Beetle with Jamie and this goes back to the comic book roots. I mean, there's no question this is just DC's Venom. This is Agent Venom. You've got the sort of damaged alien symbiote that comes and bonds with someone instead of being a villain, which is the true nature of the alien race. They become a hero. So yeah, it's the whole Agent Venom all over again. Deja vu. It's like they liked the symbiote idea. They had to change it just a little bit. Still had to be a bug themed, instead of a spider, it's a beetle. And then it makes it even funnier when you think how Blue Beetle is sort of the answer to Spider-Man on the Electric Company, which hopefully we'll talk about the Electric Company Blue Beetle, since we're here talking about Blue Beetle for probably the last time.
What are you talking about? This is going to get at least 4 sequels. Did you not see the end credits? What's wrong with you? Do you not know that this is where things are going now? This is the start of the new James Gunn-verse.
We will be talking Blue Beetle, but I think we're going to be talking Blue Beetle on like TV show on Max, similar to Peacemaker. I think we're going to be talking Ted Kord.
That honestly would not be the worst idea. Well, let's talk about this, though, because I think this is ultimately where, and I think you and I, because we kind of spoiled it with Sean in our text messages and stuff a little bit, we don't hate this movie. And
this movie is not bad.
Yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and say that. Now, how good is it? How not good is it? I guess we got to break it down to kind of explore it. But it is certified fresh according to the latest advertisement I saw, so it's probably right at 80%. I think last time I checked, it was in the high 70s, so it must have pushed up to 80% on Rotten Tomatoes. So people are liking it. It's not selling many tickets, though. And I was going to ask you, while we're on this topic, I feel like this is a couple of new releases in a row where I felt like a competently made movie is being disrespected at the box office.
Yeah, and here's
the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles not really performing very well, even though I thought it should have done just fine.
I don't know where brains were this year, because I think really a lot of this kind of comes down to scheduling and stuff like that. If you'd have put this movie someplace else, it might have done a little bit better. Same thing goes with what did you literally just said it. We recovered it the other day. What was it? Shucks.
The Teenage Mutant Ninja
Turtles movie. Like that goes in another place. Like maybe that goes in like spring or something. I don't know. But like we just haven't been putting stuff in good spots. It's just like everything overlaps, like your Barbie and Oppenheimer stuff. Both of those movies were highly successful, but how successful could they have been had they been solo affairs?
And like I'm trying to see what exactly is it that people are done with. And it's not that they're done with licensed properties or derivative properties, because Barbie and Oppenheimer both are adapted screenplays. You know what I mean? I mean, not necessarily, but they're Barbie's existing IP. Oppenheimer's a real guy,
right?
So that's what I'm saying. People are still interested in stories they already know about, but they're just kind of over stuff they've seen a bunch. Like, people have seen a bunch of Ninja Turtles, and it might be hard to say if you're a kid, Dad, take me to the Ninja Turtles movie, when he's like, nah, just watch the Nickelodeon app. There's hours of Ninja Turtles on there.
Yeah.
So, and with Blue Beetle, it's like, yeah, this is just another DC character that's going to be there for a minute and we're all going to forget about it. So even if it's good, so what, is almost like the attitude I think people have.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And also with the attitude, and we've seen it happen many, many, many times, and we could just see it with Flash just right now, is that these movies will go to digital so flipping fast that it's just like, I can watch it on HBO Max in like 2 months for free. So
but if you make the right movie that and I'm going to use this in the actual cinematic term, but you make the right movie that exploits the right need, you make a true exploitative film. You can be a big budget exploitative film like Barbie and still make money at the box office. So the fact that movies are coming out quickly is only affecting the movies that are like that feel like they're part of, they feel like the movie version of TV shows. We've said that so many times with what the Marvel Connected Universe did. But you come up with something that's either novel or, in the case of Barbie, even though there have been Barbie cartoons that were like pretty cheesy, this is the first take at a live action studio movie. It was done cleverly. I think I would call it like on par with Lego Movie, in that they found an original story to tell, and it's not just the story of the toy.
Yeah, you wouldn't think it would be
the fans of the
what it is.
So, there can still be things that hit big at the box office, but Blue Beetle, no matter how good it is never going to shine as brightly as if it had maybe just been something on Max, and people would be watching and saying like, oh my God, this is so good. I can't believe that those a-holes at Warner just threw it straight on Max.
Yeah.
But when they put it at the cinema, but when they release it, you see how the box office does.
Yep. I think you're right. If they would have put this straight on Max, people would have been like, dude, they probably should have put this in the theater, but they put it in the theater and no one watches it. So it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of people that like to just tell you that you've done the wrong thing after the fact and when you can't do anything about it. There are some people that just get that joy, myself sometimes. I get that joy. But if you put it straight out on Max, people are going to point out, hey, you don't know what would have happened if you released it. Now they release it, and I'm saying, hey, now you don't know what would have happened if you put it straight on Max.
Yeah, people might have liked it.
I think this is, I shouldn't think. I want to ask you what you think. Do you think that this is being embraced by what I would call is the niche market that it's trying to reach, like that sort of underserved Mexican-American market?
Based upon, well, of course, we don't really speak about pop culture or many things a whole lot. My Spanish-speaking crew hasn't said anything about it. I haven't heard anything.
I'm wondering about like their 12-year-old sons, though.
Maybe not that. Well, one of them actually has been hanging out for the last week or so before school and everything. So I haven't heard him talk about it or mention anything. But
and like in West Virginia, we don't have a very diverse population. But the elementary school that my kids went to was one of the few schools that had more students of color than white students. One of the very few schools in West Virginia like that, especially at elementary. And when Black Panther came out, it had a profound effect on those elementary school kids.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm just curious, is Blue Beetle going to have anything like that?
No. Well, first and foremost,
is it being embraced at all, or is it being seen as performative or like exploitative?
I will say this again, coming with my limited exposure to Latin culture. I sit and watch this, and none of it felt inauthentic or stupid, that kind of pandery sort of thing. None of it ever really felt like that. It did, and none of it felt insincere to me.
I don't want to claim to know enough to say whether I find it to be sensitive or insensitive. I just don't know enough. But I didn't see anything that looked. I mean, it seemed good to me, but then again, that could be part of the problem is that I don't know what's not good.
Yeah. For sure. I think one of the big problems is again part of the cast. I'm gonna go to your main actor, Zolo. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have a hard time. Malyudena, Jaime, the guy who plays Jaime Reyes.
Yes. He was on Cobra Kai, so I call him Miguel because that's his character's name from Cobra Kai, and I don't know how to pronounce Xolo, which is his name.
Zolo is what I would think.
Yeah, I don't know, so I don't want to,
And then Bruno Markenzie? I don't know.
Sure.
Who plays Jenny Cord. While both of these people are attractive young folk and everything, neither one of them is a particularly good actor. Like they have their moments, of good stuff, but by and large, throughout the entire stretch of it, like I just don't buy you as fully fleshed out characters.
I think that they both maybe could do better in something else. I don't have any problems with Jaime, the performance with Jaime. I thought it's exactly what you need for a PG-13 superhero movie about a teenage hero.
I just need a little bit more.
Even though he's not a teenager, they're treating it like he's a teenager. It doesn't work with her and him together because they don't have any chemistry. The actress, the Portuguese actor that plays Jenny Cord is about 8 years older than him, and it shows.
Yeah, she does not look like she would be interested in that young boy at all.
She's dating guys that fly private jets, not college dropouts.
Exactly. And she's rich too. So like she's
the billionaire. She's the Portuguese supermodel daughter of a billionaire. And I'm sorry. I'm just not buying the and besides that, I'm just not buying the chemistry between the two.
No, you don't. You don't believe it.
It almost, as a white guy, watching it, it's almost like, oh man, this feels like something in the 80s where somebody didn't know the difference between a Puerto Rican and a Brazilian and a Mexican, because the whole time I'm thinking she's speaking Portuguese and he's speaking Spanish. And I know that the director understands this. Mm-hmm. I know the director's Puerto Rican. He understands this. But in my mind, I'm like, man, this feels like something that people who don't know any better are putting out there, or they're trying to treat like there's no difference in someone from Mexico and someone from Brazil. Sometimes it just kind of had that feeling to me, but I know that maybe if that was in the screenplay, it's definitely not going to be there through the vision of the director and the performers.
Yeah. What do you think of kind of the cast of the surrounding cast of the family and everything? Well, I loved everybody in the family. I thought like sister, mom, and dad and grandma, they were all great.
That sister seems like she should be famous already. Like she has that screen presence where she's got to be from some like kids TV show that's kind of a Disney Channel comedy or a Nickelodeon Channel comedy. She has to be in something because she's just too charismatic to not have been anything.
Hocus Pocus 2 looks like her big. She was in American Horror Stories.
Okay, so she's worked.
Hocus Pocus 2 was probably her biggest thing, I would say.
She has the kind of charisma where I could see her leading a show that we would never watch.
Yeah,
the Sweet Life of Zach and Cody for a new generation.
Mm-hmm, yeah, she looks like she does. She looks like a fun Disney character kind of gal.
And she seems like she just is the person that they needed. It's almost like they looked around and they're like, this guy is an action hero. He's the new Mexican-American heartthrob action hero from Cobra Kai. He's 22 years old. We really want to put him in this role that he can maybe be like the Mexican-American Tom Holland, but he doesn't quite
he doesn't quite
have that charisma. So they put this sister in there who's like the Aquafina to his Shang-Chi. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She brings it. She understood the assignment and she stole the show, I thought.
Yeah, compared to him, that's a very apt comparison there, because he should. That's what I was thinking this whole time. I'm like, he should have that Tom Holland vibe, and he just doesn't have that it factor that Tom Holland has.
Yeah, because one thing that I think, and once again, we've already been on record as saying we enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, it's good. It's a lot of fun.
I'm going to tell you what I think could have made it a little more successful. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
I think rolling a little bit into almost like a PG-13 Deadpool sense of humor might have worked, like even like some dirty jokes that aren't that dirty, but because the punchline's in Spanish and you go and look up, oh, that was the Spanish word for dog turd. It seems dirtier,
Yeah.
So a few little things like that would have been kind of cool, or maybe go more like a Spider-Man, but instead they picked a very unlikable age, 22 and a half.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're just out of regular school.
19. The guy could have been home for the summer after his freshman year, and this all happens, and his family loses their home, so he can't go back to college. That could have been it. Make him 19, and the same actor could play 19.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just the weird, and then give him a love interest who's, she's Giselle Bundchen Jr. pushing 30 though.
Yeah, I was about to say she looks like she's closer to 30 than he is by a decent shot.
Well, the actor's 28. The woman who played Jenny Court is 28.
Oh, there you go.
The man who played Miguel is 22. I played Miguel in Cobra Kai is 22 at the time of filming.
Well, okay, then yeah, it all makes sense. But yeah, it doesn't. But he doesn't. I liked him more in the Blue Beetle costume and everything, which I didn't think I would like that costume, but it kind of works well enough. It's not amazing, but
I love the costume.
I like
the costume.
I like the mouth moving at the bottom. I thought that was a good little touch, which I didn't think was going to be a thing.
And yes, the mouth moving is kind of like the little bit of eye moving on Deadpool in the Deadpool movies. Like, it doesn't make any sense that they would move, but it just works.
That kind of works. Like the eyes and everything work really well. And design wise is really good.
It's got a little bit of that, like a little bit of that pre-Avengers vibe to it, when superhero movies were still just like, we're going to try to do this cool, fun thing, and we're not thinking about a franchise and a shared universe, and we're just out here to do our thing. It kind of had that feel to it also, which I miss. And that's what I liked about the costume, is it's made just for one use and sell some toys, and then we move on to the next thing.
Yeah, it's kind of Iron Man, Scarlet Spider-y sort of vibe, but like it doesn't feel horribly derivative. But there's enough of that kind of, again, Green Lantern sort of thing. That's what also is great about Blue Beetles. Like this is all like 58 characters and character traits and stuff just jammed into one, and you're like, there you go, shut up.
Don't blame the filmmakers. All of the derivative qualities of this incarnation of Blue Beetle are right from the comics. I mean, this sounded pretty spot on to what I remember from the New 52 origin, but I haven't read those books in 12 years. So,
yeah,
who knows if I remember correctly. Like, I'm not even the best at remembering things when I read it recently.
I wish the character himself had like maybe a little bit more humor, or humor was in the working with the costume and how the costume, interacts with him and everything.
And I feel like they put humor around him because they just knew that the humor wasn't going to be coming from Blue Beetle.
Yeah, he couldn't carry that.
That was somebody's decision, I think, even before they hired this director, that decision was made. We're going to put the humor around him. And that's why, you put George Lopez in there, because you realize this cast needs a punchy punch-up guy, a punchline, and then the sister, it brings the charisma. So I think they knew that they had no intentions of this guy being funny, and I wish that they had. I wish that they'd let him be funny, and then have somebody else be the straight man. Or just have no straight man like Deadpool. Is there a straight man anywhere in Deadpool? I don't think so.
No, because I know Booster Gold. I know Booster Gold's funny, but like Blue Beetle funny too. Usually,
Ted Cord is this.
Ted Cord, I should say.
So much.
Yeah,
Ted Cord funny. This version, not so much.
What did you think about kind of the body horror aspect of it when the scarab kind of goes in his back and everything? I loved all that. I thought that was really cool. Man.
And that's that influence from Green Lantern. When the Green Lantern dies and the ring selects a new host, we'll hear the scarabs kind of doing the same thing, but the way it like embeds into you.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is it's got a little bit of that alien feeling to it, with the face hugger impregnating your belly, and you're gonna have a chest burster. And it's not terribly original. Other science fiction stuff has done that kind of symbiote thing, like I said.
Here's the thing, though.
But it looks good in this movie.
Yeah, it looks good, and ultimately, as we've shown with with everything, I think, especially 8 years of this program, we don't care if you give us the same thing again. You just need to package it in a way that's new and interesting and appealing. That's what we need.
I just want to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
I either want to have fun or I want to cry, like, intentionally. I don't want to cry because, oh my God, I paid $20 for this. But I mean, I either want to have fun or I want to cry because I moved. I don't want the most original thing in the world means nothing to me if I'm not having fun watching it.
Yeah. And ultimately, I think that's what you do have with this movie is it is fun. It's not overly serious, which is good. Like you said, maybe it could have a little bit more comedy to it, but I think there's also a world we could live in where this goes way too into comedy and is just, over the top and maybe terrible.
I'll just be, yeah, but they can also do like the Thor thermostat where there's not enough comedy, then they turn it up too high, then they try turning it back. They can always do a little bit of that too. I got no problems with it, but looking at the box office, I don't think we're going to see any more Blue Beetle unless he just shows up as a supporting character in an ensemble cast, like a JLI or something.
You open up at 25 million here in the U.S. of A. and 43 million worldwide on what I could only assume is at least $150 million budget.
I am interested to see what people think about this movie in 6 weeks. The first weekend, some people come out and say it's not so bad. And in particular, maybe some young folks that see themselves on the screen and see if it gains a little momentum between now and next weekend or not. Just because kids are back in school, so they're all there talking. The ones who got to see Blue Beetle are going to talk to the ones who didn't. We'll see if he does become like a little Warner Brothers. I keep wanting to call him a high school kid, but he just finished college, a 20-something sort of Latino superhero, like an idol, screen icon.
Yeah. And again, I think that problem is that we don't have that lead who has, and the movie's called Blue Beetle. It's not called Blue Beetle and Friends or Friends of Blue Beetle. It's called Blue Beetle. So I think Blue Beetle himself should have enough charisma and on-screen just presence that makes us go like, that's him. Like even at the reluctant level, even like the reluctant level of superhero where you don't want to be that, we should still like want him to want it.
Well, I'm just kind of, like I said, I want to see how whether or not it's embraced by what I'll call the target audience, because they'll have a much better understanding on whether or not this speaks honestly or accurately or not. So that's kind of what I'm curious to hear about, is whether or not it gets accepted in the community.
Well, speaking of accuracy and stuff like that, let's talk about a thing that's always been a DC thing, is that like this movie itself tries to do its best, I would assume, to honor Latin culture and stuff like that, but at the same time too, as is often the case with DC, it lives in a world that doesn't actually exist in our real world. This is fake city.
DC's pretty notorious. Well, I won't say notorious. It's just been their thing. It's one of the differences between Marvel and DC. But what I don't know is if this is the actual city for Blue Beetle or what state. Like in my mind, I thought that the New 52 Blue Beetle was like set in Houston or something, but I could be way off on that.
Well, there's palm trees galore. I feel like they want us to think this is Miami.
I thought they're talking about the Keys, the Edge Keys. So that makes me think like the Florida Keys, but because they talk a lot about Mexico and Guatemala, it makes me think it's more like Los Angeles, San Diego area. So I just don't even know.
Yeah, it's that DC. I mean, it's everywhere and nowhere, all at the exact same time. But that's what kind of makes it like, I don't know. It feels strange that we're like that you want to honor one thing, but at the same time too, we still. And again, I know it's a DC thing, but it just seems odd. But then sometimes DC does a weird one where they will like admit that like New York exists. It doesn't happen very often, but very rare occasions there'll be some stuff where they're like, wait a minute,
in the comics than in the movie.
Right, for sure. But I always thought that was kind of weird and strange. I thought all the music was really good. I thought just a lot of great. Whenever I hear a foreign language cover of a song that I enjoy, it just makes me happy. I don't know why. Whenever I hear one, I'm just like, oh, that's that song. That's that song.
Okay, so in the comics, I'm sorry, I had to look this up, but in the comics, he's based in El Paso.
Okay, so that certainly was not El Paso.
Yeah, so that's one of those where I almost wonder if they were worried it would be making it too political to put it in a real city, and that's why they made up a city. But I always kind of thought that Jamie or Jaime, good inside joke too, because all the comic book readers I know always called him Jamie, the way the person keeps calling him Jamie, and he says, "My name is Jaime."
Yeah, to me, I'm just sitting there going like, and again, not even before my job, and like I knew at least a little bit. There's sometimes where I'm just going like, "Come on, white people, this is not 1972 anymore. You know a little bit better than this now. Come on."
Yeah, maybe they just did not want to take any chances of, in some way, shape, or form, having some weird border crossing catastrophe in El Paso happen the day before this movie set to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
Like I think they just did not want to risk being political.
El Paso is a hotbed. We're not doing nothing with that. You change it to Fake and McFake City.
Elvira City. I don't even know what they didn't even make up a good name.
Boy, oh boy.
And they even have cities already, like Coast City, they could have used.
I'll be booking my trip to Elvira City right now. Get on the old price line. All right, let's talk about it. We've mentioned him a couple of times. What just before even this movie, what are your thoughts on George Lopez? Is just a little bit of everything.
He's just like that classic 90s sitcom guy, man. I think he was really good in the George Lopez show. It's just he was doing it in the early 2000s instead of the 90s. But
that's actually very accurate. He was doing like a 90s sitcom in the early 2000s. That's true.
But as far as I never really watched his talk show, so I don't know how he was there.
Oh, he was George Lopez is what he was, because as much as I will chide George Lopez a little bit, but he's kind of the same in everything. He's one of those guys that's that's who you're hiring, and you better know that.
He's one of the all-time great TV dads. You just put him on there. He's just a good sitcom TV dad. He's kind of corny, he's always great at, you mean rock and roll isn't about a stone and a biscuit, one of those kind of dads. So he's just a great sitcom dad. So I like him, and I think Uncle Rudy is right in his range.
Yeah, it's in his wheelhouse. And I've always listened, George Lopez, like a lot of these guys, like your Steve Harveys and everything, these are hustlers. These boys just hustle.
Hey,
they have 88
Steve
jobs.
Harvey's from West Virginia. He's a hard worker.
Them boys just hustle so hard. And I just while it may not always be my jam, I'm I kind of got to respect just how hard these dudes work. And he's just one of those guys.
I mean, Steve Harvey is on 7 shows at once. That is a man who loves to work. And I've seen a picture of his Atlanta mansion, and I can see why he has to work so much, because that thing looks expensive to maintain.
And all of his outfits. Are you kidding me? The man's just a clothes horse like nobody's business. And he's looking, you want to talk about looking like a DC villain? Steve Harvey has the wardrobe of a DC villain all day long.
Steve Harvey got his Family Feud wardrobe from Arsenio Hall's yard sale when they canceled his talk show.
He had to get that tailored, boy. Them 90s suits was loose.
Now, this is what you get when you listen to the Blue Beetle review on Hero Movie Podcast. We both like the movie, but we're struggling to talk about anything other than Steve Harvey's wardrobe. George Lopez playing Rudy, the goatee. Was that natural, or was that a prosthetic?
I think that's a prosthetic. That's a prosthetic.
It's gotta be, right? You don't grow that at short notice.
No, not so much. He's like, listen, I'm very committed to this role. And you're like, listen, George, you don't have to. No, we got to wait 6 months. We're like, you grow that in 6 months. I'm very hairy.
And it's a very, very Bruce Leslie character there, the Uncle Rudy. That
are you kidding me?
I would love to write and just get into.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, here's how you write a Bruce Leslie character, everybody. You just go, how would we make him as broad as humanly possible? Can he be wearing something stupid? Can he say something stupid? Can he get into an embarrassing situation of sorts? These are all things that Bruce must have in his characters at all times.
Oh man, and I like that he even wore shorts to the funeral. He's like that guy who's like, okay, I've reached a point in life where there's nowhere I need to be where anybody can tell me I'm not allowed to wear shorts.
No. That's the Kevin Smith
shorts.
of it all.
They were respectful, but the shorts and the work boots, that's the look I like to rock. So I really related to George Lopez here.
Like I said, Susan Sarandon, while not in this all that much or whatever, she showed up to work, man. She was clearly happy to be there and just do whatever this is. There was more entertainment in her performance than all of Black Adam together. Her performance alone was more dramatic and moving than any of that crap, and her performance ain't nothing in this movie,
And I'll say that she's a person who I probably haven't enjoyed in a movie for a while, and I enjoyed her here, so that was nice.
Yeah, she's kind of been herself a lot. I don't know. That's kind of a, I don't know.
I think she's just in things that I'm really not the audience for. I think she's just in things I don't watch.
Let's do this though. This is an interesting one because I had this thought while I was watching it. Are you more Meryl Streep? Or are you more of Susan Sarandon?
In terms of
just who do you want to see, who would you rather see in a role? Who do you think's a better actor?
It's going to be Meryl Streep for me on that. I mean, that's nothing. No, no shame there for Susan Sarandon, but Meryl Streep's, she's pretty famous.
I'll say this: I think Meryl Streep has had better movies overall because the movies themselves. I'm going to say Susan Sarandon may be the better actor.
I really, really like Meryl Streep's performance in Mamma Mia.
Oh my Lord! Well, now you're just saying things that are just patently insane. That whole
I love Mamma Mia.
Oh yeah, you were and I'm sure that you think that Pierce Brosnan had a stunning rendition of what's his nut there in that flick as well.
Sam Carmichael. No, Silas is a better Sam Carmichael than
Pierce
Brosnan.
Gilbert Godfrey would have done better in that role.
No, I'm not going to go that.
It was so atrociously bad. But I thought she was good in this. I liked her as this kind of that crazed, again, that the Ronnie Cox role from RoboCop. It's kind of who she is, or Miguel Ferrer. Actually, she's more Miguel Ferrer.
She's the sister of Ted Court.
Yeah,
the CEO of the company.
But I thought I thought she was cool, and again, I thought the guy who we have playing the kind of the half robot, half man sort of
OMAC. He's playing OMAC.
That looked really cool. Great design. I thought the actor was very solemn and quiet and everything, and just did what he had to pull that role off. Good stuff.
OMAC is also a character from the comics, and this will probably be an interesting around the block we go here. But OMAC, created by Jack Kirby,
looks very Kirby-esque, doesn't it?
Well, what you saw on screen looks nothing like the OMAC that was created by Jack Kirby. Was just a big muscular guy with a big red mohawk. And he thought of him as essentially Captain America in a post-apocalyptic future, or maybe just in the future. All the future seems post-apocalyptic to me.
You're rarely good.
Over the years, he became more of a mechanized kind of thing. And then in the New 52, they launched an OMAC standalone title the same time they launched the Jamie Reyes Blue Beetle. So I read a few issues of that too. And it's very different from what we've got here, but it is a man who gets linked to this OMAC technology, and then you say OMActivate, and you turn into OMAC.
Oh, who doesn't like to OMActivate?
It's kind of like like the Shazam, or Thing Ring, Do Your Thing, if you recall that cartoon from the 70s.
This one, the OMAC action figure, he looks like he's a member of the Aquabats.
And I think in either Final Crisis or Infinite Crisis, because sometimes I get my crises confused, but the OMACs were a weapon global defense system that turned on against the superheroes of Earth, and that was the Crisis. And that's closer to the way OMAC is being depicted here. So that's my OMActivate knowledge. And I think I've kind of covered most of what I had to say here. What other points did you kind of want to bring up?
We had a little an end credits there. I don't know where that was.
Teasing Ted Cord. And I guess I should back up because I didn't say everything I had to say, because I forgot to ask you what you thought about the Bug.
Which one? What are we talking about?
The Bug is the flying craft, the hovercraft.
Oh, yes. Oh, which I loved it.
I think because we've all seen Watchmen the movie and Watchmen the TV show, which have both had Archimedes, which was 100% based on the Bug.
For sure.
But because we saw those things years ago, now it feels like the Bug is ripping that off.
I love that so much. It just makes my heart just jump with glee to have that like weird inceptional kind of thing where it's like imitates, and we all just kind of go, well, that's the phony. It's like, well, no, not really. It's the OG that ripped off the other one that ripped off this one. That to me is just glorious fun to be had.
I mean, I love that kind of stuff. I sat at a table with Jim Starlin, and I was like, so where'd you get the idea for Darkseid? Well, I was going to rip off one of the some other character, and the editor said, if you're going to rip somebody off, rip off Kirby. So I made Darkseid. So Thanos is just Darkseid. Well, then you went to DC and you created Mongol. Let's see. Oh, he's just Thanos. And I was like, but you already had Darkseid. Yeah, but why not have two?
You adjust as needed. But yeah, listen, I thought that was cool. I liked all the old school costumes there and everything.
I love it.
I thought those looked really good, very comic accurate and everything, especially that one specific one and stuff. I thought that was really cool, and again, could have used more stuff like that.
for fans of Blue and Gold, we know that Ted Kord is lost somewhere in time with Booster Gold. So Blue Beetle and Booster Gold are running around in time, having time traveling adventures while everybody thinks Ted Kord is dead. And that's why that teaser made me excited, because it's, would be a great setup for Blue and Gold.
Well, and they've talked about, wanting to do a Booster Gold thing, and even old what's his face
Max?
there? No, the guy from Top Gun and
Tom Cruise.
No, the other guy, Glenn Powell.
Miles
Glenn
Teller.
Powell says he wants to be Booster Gold.
He would be a good Booster Gold.
Wouldn't he though?
I like him for that role.
I'm like, okay. Now we just gotta get his other Blue Beetle counterpart there, and then see what happens. But like, if this movie then leads to that thing, and then we just kind of I say it often on the show, but if we Armin Tamzarian this Blue Beetle, then at that point, are we okay with that? I mean, I think I would be.
I'm fine with it. Yeah.
We just kind of go like, well, we had that one, but now this one's the one that this is the one that we really want to do. It's the one that James Gunn just goes, maybe that's what we need, as opposed to this other thing that I had nothing to do with.
Yeah. He can just go off to law school, come back as an attorney someday.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, and then we could start ripping off Daredevil.
The role of Blue Beetle now being played by Ben Affleck.
Man, Ben Affleck ain't gonna stop till he's been every superhero. I'm convinced of it at this point.
I now want him to play Ted Kord.
Ben Affleck is Ted Kord. All right, before we get to our final review here and everything, we have to find out how this here Blue Beetle movie relates one-to-one with Sylvester Stallone. And what you know it, I happen to have a prepared statement.
You don't say.
Hello there, Mr. Stallone. It's still me, Adam, the dumb one. Yeah, right. Yeah. That's correct. Well, with Sean out again, it was up for me to write the Stallone connection again. And given the struggle that I had last week, this week in comparison, bit of a cinch. But I didn't think that it would be anyway. No sirree, Bob. I mean, the cast and much of the crew for this film are Spanish speaking. If there's one thing that we know about Stallone, you don't have time for languages that aren't English. And can you believe this? George Lopez hasn't been in an Expendables movie yet. Now, if there was anyone who was expendable, I imagine it to be George Lopez.
Oh no!
Did you know that George Lopez only has 79 acting credits as of this recording? Seems like a lot more, doesn't it? Seems like there should be way more than that. It's like, George Lopez, come on, stop bothering us. You haven't worked with him or anyone else in that cast, and I'm guessing it's all because they're under the age of 60, and most of them would just ask you about the Spy Kids movies. Now, this week's Stallone connection is production designer John Billington. John Bills Billington, as I assume his nickname is, he's a bit of an artsy boy. Bills is one of the production designers not only on Blue Beetle, but also movies I know you've seen, Mr. Stallone. Movies like Cop Shops with Jerry Butler and Frank Grillo. He also production designed on The Bad Boys for Life, Triple X, The Return of Xander Cage, and the hardest of hardcore movies, Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stopping.
Yeehaw.
But John has also art-directed films like World War Z, Troy, Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen, Pearl Harbor, The Island. You see a trend right there? That's not all. It's all top-tier stuff is what that's the trend is. But then again, John Bills Billington was in the art department on The Italian Job. That's the Marky Mark version. From Hell, Titanic, for heaven's sake, and the first movie I ever reviewed in high school, The Bone Collector. And even Eyes Wide Shut. Old Bills here worked with Kubrick on his last film in 1999. But you know what got John Bills Billington ready to take on the job working with Stanley Kubrick? A man who was notoriously not easy to work with? I do. It's called 4 years earlier in 1995, John Bills Billington worked on a film that we only will review once this show is done. That, of course, would be your starring role as Judge Dredd. But don't ask for it, people, because you won't get it, and when you do, you'll be sad that it's here. John Bills Billington is this week's Stallone connection. Face it, you didn't think I'd write anything this week, did you? See you next time. Your pal from the internet, Dummy Adam.
Oh, come on. Don't be so hard on yourself.
You know what it is.
Excellent work. I haven't written anything in months, so you're doing an excellent
job. It's all we've got to do here. Well, let's get down to it. Here at Hero Movie Podcast, we have our own patented Robin rating system. Bruce, where does Blue Beetle fall on the Robin rating system for you?
Good. Good enough, not great, but still good enough that I want people to go see it. I kind of want to know what other people think about it.
Yeah.
I want people to talk about it a little bit. So I say Tim Drake. Yeah, Tim Drake.
Yeah, I'm Tim Drake as well. I went into this maybe with zero expectations. I don't think I'd seen as bit of a trailer.
I think that helped having
Yeah.
It wasn't just zero expectations. We were actively not wanting to see this.
Yeah.
We were joking with each other about how bad the signs were.
It looked terrible. And then when you had like trailers and stuff and other things, just like they were literally coming out and going like, no, this one's really, really great. And we're like, I don't know where you were 2 months ago, Boone. We heard all of this. This is the best Flash movie, blah, 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 blah. And then we saw it and it was a steaming pile. And so we only assumed that the exact same ruse was being attempted on us for a second time. But sure as shooting, this one was actually not horrible. It wasn't the greatest thing in the world. It was like, and me and the other one family that was there in the Atmos theater that I was at, they all seemed to have a good time, but like literally it was one other family other than myself. That was it. It was pretty sparse. But no one's coming to see these things, and that is sad because it's sad when we don't go to see something that's at least halfway decent, like this and like your Turtles stuff. The things that people might actually enjoy, they don't go watch because either they've been burned or there's just been, any myriad of situations. But I gotta say, when this comes out on HBO, which it will probably within the next 90 days, I would venture a guess. Watch it. I think you might like it. And if you got a good surround system, I mean, I thought, again, I saw us at Atmos Theater, like the sound was fantastic. A lot of great, those super futuristic helicopters, so many Atmos effects with those, really, really fun. So it's a good time if you're willing to put it in and throw away your brain for, it is a little long.
And if
again, you could run
kids,
20 minutes off of this and it'd be good.
If anybody runs across any kids or any of your own kids want to be Blue Beetle when they grow up after seeing this, I genuinely, it's not a joke. I kind of want to hear about it. I want to hear if this is reaching kids or not, because it kind of feels like one that was made to reach younger folks.
I think it would have if our leads were just a little bit more just dramatic and available. Like I said, that Tom Holland it factor, this guy just doesn't have that little extra thing. He's not bad. He's just not great. And that's and you need that to really launch this off and have him be some kind of, your Spider-Man, if you will, for DC. Should
we do for next week a consolation prize and do a Charles Band movie since it came in last? We'll see what Sweet Shanzi thinks about the idea of a consolation prize, because we want to make sure it's something he's willing to watch.
Yeah, next week we're not quite sure what we're doing as far as movies and stuff goes. Of course, again, you have your votes over there at patreon.com/HMP. Really, the two big ones right now are going out are Sean Lowe spaceships and our werewolves.
We add a level of complexity, because if people say, whatever finishes last, they're going to review that too. So I don't want this to finish last, but I also want that to finish first. Where do I want to use my vote? Do I want to vote for something or against something?
That's a level of gamesmanship that I enjoy. I think that's...
So I think we give the booby prize, the chowder bucket prize, to whoever comes in last place in this competition, and we review one movie from that category.
What a devious plan. I love that, and I think Sean will too, because there's a level of deviousness to it that makes you go like, that's probably good. That's probably good. All right. Well, we'll figure something out. You'll have the official thing next week, and maybe we'll shoot it off to the Patreon people so you guys know in advance. That is it. Bruce, in the meantime, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
Just be on the lookout for any updates on this crazy werewolf movie I'm working on.
Oh, it's going to be something else, people. We got another show coming up. God bless us. I don't know why we do this to ourselves.
Is it?
This Wednesday is the premiere of Ahsoka on Disney+.
Are we doing the 30 questions? I think we got to.
Yeah, we're doing 30 questions on Ahsoka, because this is going to be a big one. Are we going to is Dave Filoni's big gamble going to finally pay off here? Are we going to see, the fruits of that labor
Vintage
of Clone Wars for so
more
many
baloney?
years?
Tune in to find out.
All right, that is it, everybody. Join us next week for more phony baloney. For the absent sweet shots and Kovacs on the internet, Bruce, let's say I'm Adam Portraits. Stay super, everybody.
Goodbye, Marty and Evie.